Yes.
18, no, Obintiminka said that is the end of the case. It depends.
No, it's not because hypothetically, so much to grab back 10, we still have the opportunity to go for times 5. Yeah, into extra 50 plus. Yeah, hypothetically, so much to back 10, we can go for another times 5.
Court appearances, Menkanisa, in Ghana and also in the United States. And the Abena say a year Canadian Japan or your former MP a few years ago announced the investigative piece by na FA football home GFA, and at the end of the day, no Nyoma Bibrisi, one of his colleagues or any investigations near the day Ahmed Swale FMU Ehre. After that, series of Nyama Esi, a lot of information about out from Kennedy Japan, and a lot of allegations that were made against Anas. Say it wouldn't crumple Ahmed Swale, at the point Kennedy was insinuating on radio and on TV, say Anas Nimhubi. A lot of things were said by Kennedy Japan. He even went further to have a whole documentary session at his premises. Otunedin, who watches The Watchman, Obo video, trying to create the impression that whatever Anas put out initially as the original documentary, he has the original tapes that were hidden and all that. Now, fast forward, Anas felt to say there was a lot of allegations made. He thought he needed to clean himself because of the reputation he carries and also his work, or ended up in New Jersey in a court. To make it easy for us, we are one of the lawyers for Anas, and I want to state again, Udini Ivan Selassie Adika, renowned lawyer. Bepacho, can you run us through how it started and how we got to know today, say, a judgment in the New Jersey court? Abba.
Okay, Mr. P. The interesting thing is, I quite remember that you were sued in the U.S. sometime in 2021.
Yes.
And that actually caused my clients to begin inquiring about possibly if there was anything out there, whether it will be actionable in the U.S. Mm. So you have some significance to today's events. So shortly after, when you were going through your motion to dismiss, we actually took a keen interest in that case and reviewed all the pleadings. Mm. And during that time also, my client informed me of a video that was circulating on social media. I just say, "Yeah, papa no, and someone just like what kind about my client." Mm. So, like as the intellectuals that we are, we started opening the books and try to see where we can lay a claim. And so, interesting enough, after reviewing the video, in our training, there's something that we are taught. So, in your case, it has to pass the test, and the case has to stand on all fours, which means that you do an analysis of whether there's jurisdiction in place, whether you have all the elements of each claim that you want to bring. So we went through all of that, and my conclusion was yes, on the basis of video now, my client is send them you tweet back court New Jersey. Asante. Yeah, papa no video no so yeah papa na and no mun sam kire say okase free fie New Jersey. Now when him say you for so no the diaspora is very important. Obviously, what you do is testament to that fact. And there was an audience that he spoke to. We're Ghana for. They all take a keen interest in the happenings in Ghana, especially the politics in Ghana. So we thought, there was solid grounds for us to be in the court in New Jersey. So I advised my clients accordingly. Now, when you say, you're a lawyer. So obviously, he was an integral part of what was going on in the preparatory stage. At that time, I am a U.S. trained lawyer, but I currently only practice in Ghana. And there was a team of us. I'd like to say congratulations to my learned colleague Odette Crow. He was a part of yes, he was counsel of record in Ghana. So I pulled him into the research, and we drafted a complaint. And like we can't a lawyer. So we did the work, and he actually filed it himself. So after the preliminary back and forth, initially the case was we sued in 2022.
Okay. Yes.
We filed suit sometime, I think.
The complaint.
Yeah, sometime, I think, in the summer of 2022.
May 17th, 2022.
Yes. And by law, there was a period by which Papa no Anka was or responded with what is known as an answer. But so Papa no one filed a response, and my case no call into default. Now, after a period of default, you can actually go for judgment. Now, a case near Fale, we filed on 3 counts. But I couldn't say a cron or a cron 4. The second one was or you would in terms of Onuna or behind the medal of Yenuya Ahmed Swale.
Yeah.
Now, the third one, so say Yenuya a serial killer in terms of Woku Chinese Kobe Brebi Wagana. And then the fourth one is or a criminal. The blanket word criminal. And then the fifth one by implication, say behind Woody Sembiana, that means say Abiana and no a trigger man and also no will be second and say perform the physical act that led to the foreseeable events, which is Obi. So we also included a count that he is that he claims that my client a co-conspirator in multiple serial killings. So that was basically the gravamen of our complaint. And when it went on undefended after the response time, now we began to make preparations to move for judgment. But being that I was in Ghana and we are all based in Ghana, we reached within our network and we partnered with 2 brilliant lawyers who I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate. Okay. Atta Wemega Esquire, he was the father figure of the team of lawyers, and a brilliant trial lawyer by the name of Andrew Dehere. These are all brilliant Ghanaian lawyers on this case. And at that point, we recruited them as counsel of record, and the case went. At that point, Kennedy's lawyers came in, obviously because near Beji judgment for the full $30 million. And so he hired counsel, and counsel came and also did his thing. Reopen default, they argued that they had a solid defense, and I think right around then, and I almost got judgments from Ghana, release it. And so say defense to case
because
New Jersey.
But Ghana, so case
exactly.
Case. Okay.
So as defense against, but the interesting thing is that in the defamation sits here, say kind of the work of court. It's a separate case.
Yeah.
It's not to mean to Ghana and from the defending way. You still have to prove the truth of it. And this time, in this jurisdiction, the law is the same essentially because Ghana but you sound so free other countries. There are certain times that even though any of presidential value, I just said, dead into me, so India, but to me, the two na senior, especially in cases, maybe you decided that type of a case. And Emrano is the same as Ghana. Procedurally, there are certain nuances, sometimes in terms of certain dates, you have to do certain things by, and also in New Jersey, Emra drafted complaints, we were fully aware that we were required to prove what we were claiming by a higher standard than in Ghana.
Yeah.
Yes, in this case, and not even that. In this case, we were required to prove our case not by the normal civil standard, but by a clear and convincing evidence standard.
Okay.
And they responded with that, and they were able to successfully reopen the default, which paved way for them to file an answer. And they filed an answer which essentially claimed that there was some sort of back and forth between him and Anas. And, we took it for what it's worth and we forged on. And we finally got our trial date sometime earlier this year and it was postponed. And then we finally went to trial last Monday. We started trial on Monday. And we put up our case. My client testified. He testified. He brought other witnesses. And after listening to both sides, senior answer na ever try case no the difference between what happened with Ghana and see Johannes say no trial by jury into no any judge or judge back one I say judge me no I say judge me and send a bit no but normal people on the streets of New Jersey, tax-paying citizens. And in this case, we started off with veneer. That's the technical word for when the prospective jurors are brought in. We are from a veneer. The veneer of 60 citizens, tax-paying citizens of the state of New Jersey, specifically Newark, New Jersey, and its surroundings, were brought in, and after what is known as Boadaya, which is the process by which they are questioned to see if they have any sort of bias or anything that will stand
for Ghana for your vetiomo.
Just said Obinim asemu hu bia na so onimu bia asemu fan ho ana se obi wo hwa bia nyame bi osom no So we went through all of that. That was day one. That took from area to the end of the day. And so on Tuesday, we came to court and we had our opening statements. They had their opening statements. And then we proceeded to put on our evidence. And at the close of the evidence, the jury was instructed, Judge, in this case, Judge, Ometro Emrano. Na Omodiama, jury, no Ometro Mumu, Omeking Kanachro first. No more so amo people Omodibeko inside. Aquaco decide the different deliberations. Me nim there some mechanic trimu, but me so say make almost pensem okay. 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 And there are some more about Thursday about 4:30. Yeah, the church room running now, and there are some more 4:30. Into now, yeah, I dream say we be an 4:30. No, caught a punk right around that time, which is I believe consistent with the practice in I know it's consistent with the practice in Ghana. Into no, yeah, no, I dream so. Yeah, take a deep breath and reflect on what has transpired during the past 4 days. And about 20 minutes later, we got word that the jury. So as part of the defense, I think it's only fair that Meka charges counts now the buy and the civil claims now the buy. His defense was also although Oka said it was some sort of just based banter between him and Uniano, he came to court and asserted truth as his defense. And so
time I court was say counting na Mode Bono no say on it and us back and forth, right? The only claim of making or say banter. I just say we can't wait and share or no, they're not all can you say obi to be more almost tomorrow.
But all you do court media that was not
and your son of Hokai, Ura court no G2.
Yeah, be or maintaining the position say no can or the home standing by no kind.
Okay.
Basically, remember just or practice no creno D and onye boni bia.
Okay.
So to support that, or the move you try in it to who watches a watchman. But the announced by as on only defense, and so the jury had the opportunity to evaluate that and factored that in the analysis. And obviously, it was not the weight that they wanted the jury to accord with. So jury never bugui. About 20 minutes later, the jury came back with a verdict, and there were a multiplicity of very quick. And there was a multiplicity of questions that were posed to the jury. That's the way how they arrived at the decision. It's and also unanimous. People who were picked off the streets of not picked off the streets of New Jersey, but they're to from based on address, voter registration data. And to but within 20 minutes, they saw through everything and saw said no. So they came back and there was not even one juror that sided with Yapapana Samuel.
All against
8-0 on every count and on every question that was posed to the jury, including damages now about no and also crown. There was a unanimous decision. I just say it was a solid decision of the jury. 20 minutes on there was no doubt in our presentation to what you kind of lay people. These are not experts in the law.
Yeah, they are just
these are lay people
who just sat and used their common sense to come to a conclusion.
No. I will not say use their. I will not say use their common sense.
They listen to you and they listen to the other part. It makes sense though.
And then the law is the law. No judge in this world has any power to bend the law. That sort of conduct is what causes strife and war in places.
Yeah.
America had the judge actually before the judge ever kind jury instruction, but catch jurors and say, "Oh no, only to be a and that's how it went. But you know what's interesting about Nisi and or a lawyer contrary, even though people don't give him credit for that.
At least Bonidina Anas working.
But Anas, Anas. And also a very astute lawyer, and and some people walk cry a car on Jim Tumu, but sometimes a team of legal team to we come to a compromise. Now, he has been adamant about clearing his name because I have a personal experience of understanding. It's one of the worst things that can happen to someone.
Yeah.
And he absolutely took the position there. He wanted a trial. He's not interested in any settlement. He's not here for the money. He's here to clear his good name that he has built over time. And in his profession, at this time, and also started doing anything. So he always maintained that he wanted a trial to the point where sometimes there was a disagreement in the legal team. Now, procedurally, America, peace. And from this time to this time, staff that work out we are dedicating it to your case. It's no small matter.
I know. I've been there. It's not easy.
Before they will go to trial, there's mandatory settlement conference. I better say maybe by this time we'll be say grown or they'll commit to the rights and senses and decide say this shouldn't go on because yes. And I acquire unfortunately me and Anas disagreed with me, but I prepared a settlement memorandum that sought to settle this case for $18 million, just like the jury came back. As you know, these days we have all kind of tools that we can use to predict certain things.
Before you go ahead, this is where the contention is, and people saying 80 million, others saying a year 30 million. Now when you read,
well, we'll come to that. Let me clarify. Let me just clarify.
Yeah.
Okay. Complaints the coin. Yeah, claim for $30 million. $30 million.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. And what I'm saying is that at before the mandatory settlement conference, or before the jury is empaneled, even though my client had firmly informed me he had no intention of settling this case because he believes that he ought to go to a jury of his peers to clear his name. But maybe let's just prepare our settlement memorandum, be thorough and be reasonable.
Yeah.
And even though he protested, I prepared a settlement memorandum that sought to settle this case for $18 million. Okay. Now you do settlement conference, no, your papa about court work. Now the lawyers just say what he was willing to settle this matter for, and he said $10,000. So honestly, you know,
it's clarification is very, very important. You know, normally Ghana.
Okay.
Into Mukodru Hono, and that's initially, you have a kind of simple street language, and the damages are not paid around $30 million. And the
yes.
client and then Anas Kasa say a woman saw $30 million, and yes, he can't all pay. In fact, he wants his name to be cleared, and then the priority of going to court.
Yes.
But because of the experience, now unim sibi anyo matiano, uno client here Anas Kasa and say it would be better and to be reasonable to at least settle on $80 million. And I'll say, no client and us, no, you did not really agree, but because he respects you as his counsel and as a lawyer, no, you people ended up around that money, around that figure, which is $80 million.
Oh yes, and like I said, your lawyer at Awemega, New York.
Oh, yeah.
And also come home. And Andrew D here.
Yeah, you are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Wemega is there.
Yes.
D here is there. Crow is there. Yourself. Basically, as we are speaking to you, we are speaking to all of them because.
Yes. So the whole team agreed on that, but he was the only reluctant one in settling the matter. But procedurally, we couldn't go to trial without actually going through to the settlement conference.
Yes.
In spite of his reservations, we still almost cut our demand down to about a little over half.
Okay.
But to our surprise, $10,000 to end the case.
No.
You know, I want to arbitrate and who said no, some way I'm sure so I can people. So he said basically go and take your gamble in the courtroom. So that's how we ended up going to trial. So like to go back to how it ended, so at about 4:50 on Thursday. And the jury brought us in and they told us what unanimously what they had arrived at. But we decided to keep it under wraps because there was a component you multiply 18 million by 5 money do 90 million for a total of about
the plan.
Yeah, that was the plan. Yeah, because
to do that. Okay.
Yes. And then you decided to say back to your board with coming public with the finding of culpability on Thursday.
Yeah.
We ended up leaving that alone. A pursuit of ×5 because almost file motions be I just say or see a two in terms of that and sana say one way or another I pursue that ×5 and I say depending on what happens, maybe I bet me German and Cafe. But at this time, almost my court no say almost be into swore.
Okay. So at this point, my court who say beba 80 million or almost pentiswo. How many days do they have to file that? Okay.
So at this point, the next thing that's going to happen is that there's going to be a paper. A judgment. I just say court reading seal better so.
Yeah.
That would take a few days, and then after that, I believe there's a 5-day rule that's within which you can file that motion. So a bay motion, depending on how that motion goes.
Okay.
We will get a chance. We may get a chance to attempt to get our ×5 of that 18 million, or a bay So depending on how that motion goes.
So for now,
yes.
18, Obintiminka said that is the end of the case. It depends.
No, it's not because hypothetically, we still have the opportunity to go for ×5.
That is 50. Okay.
Yeah, and it's about extra 50 plus. Yeah, hypothetically, so back 10 we can go for another ×5.
You as a Ghanaian and also a lawyer and defending a fellow lawyer who is a journalist. This has been an experience. Do you want to share something with us when it comes to these kind of defamations and how comparing our judicial system back home and in the States? I'm not forcing you to condemn any, but I'm trying to find out from you. There are so many people in Ghana, they don't really understand how the American judiciary works because we are so used to the Ghana style of judiciary whereby things go a certain way. And I would say sometimes very, very slow. And sometimes you need to know something for even things to move the pace you want. In terms of how this case, how fluid it went, and comparing it to back home. I'm saying back home because I am more concerned back home, and especially when Kennedy presented a case which is the same defamation case, and he tried to use that as a basis that what he did was right. From your experience as a professional, I don't want to say what have you learned. What have you? What do you want to share something with us before you go?
Yeah. Me perceive me share all the young people in Ghana. Me show them crying say Oman yeah. Now the country is a young country, so I tend not to criticize too strongly. But Oman yeah, and young people need to take their rightful position in the country because penifonu kwa yana ebeja Oman mind. You know, my only thing is that the young people see that it's wrong or they know it's wrong, they need to stand up for their rights. The country is still young, so I would not be pointing any fingers at anybody. But we do my American. I'm a school from high school. I lawyer, and you know I know America very well. And for the past 7 years, I was licensed in Ghana in 2014, and I've been practicing actively for the last 7 years in Ghana. See, I know the problems that we face. I wouldn't. I think it's a systemic problem that allows people to hide in there to sort of engage in certain conduct. Because democracy, you know, say the system, justice system, if it does not guarantee justice, and then one day, you know, there's going to be a problem. And you know, Omano, I like to direct my comments to all young politicians, those who have entered the fray, you know, about 40 and less, you know. Let's not, if we see things that are not right, let's not say because you benefited from it because your party we want to say party we you know, we're going to condone it. We all need to make sure that we are contributing to building a Ghana that we can all live in. And you know, I would like to end on that. The system is not perfect. There are many things that we can do to also improve it. I will not talk about the substance of some of the things, but I also think the judicial in Ghana is burdened with a lot of work. There are certain things that exist here in the US that they don't have that perhaps need to be implemented. Some of these judges in this country, in the US, are ably assisted by law clerks who help them lessen their burden. But like I said, the young people in Ghana, we need to look at ourselves because I've had judges tell me, say, I've suggested that, and I've had judges tell me, say, oh no, if a young person cry, but an office on here, who wants to leaky judgment at before the judgment is granted. So I will not be pointing fingers at, what happened in Ghana was a travesty of justice. I'll say that without mincing words.
Defamation, now Kennedy Winnie.
Absolutely, because I'm now a solid, which back to the maybe I can say, before a court can pronounce someone as a criminal, no, there ought to be a due process ought to be followed. And I have a publication that is going to come out on this subject in a very near future. You know, for the courts to have called my client a criminal without giving him a criminal trial was a travesty of justice. And the court in New Jersey rightfully classified that as obiter is dicta. It can never be a criminal conviction.
So that
because
was,
one of the things
that was how the court in New Jersey, the Superior Court in New Jersey, actually addressed that particular.
Yes, because the Ofori be criminal. The Ofori be criminal. You can bring proof to say the person has been adjudged to be a criminal. You understand? So say omo the Ghana judgment ne by na court na jurors na njina so and when we brought a police clearance certificate at CID headquarters through the proper normal channels, we got it. It was sealed before we brought it to court, and that was giving more credence than what the judge said about Anas being a criminal, because that is the right thing.
How do you feel as a Ghanaian lawyer, a young Ghanaian lawyer standing before a U.S. judge, making a statement like this from a court in Ghana? I feel it's quite embarrassing.
Like I said, our country is growing. We are the U.S. is 200 and something years old. We are 60 something years old. So I like to always look at things from an optimistic standpoint. I hope that this is going to be a lesson, because Ghana is not Juros no munim Ghana. Just by dint of even some of your papa no cry amount for nim Ghana. Ufa Uber Krumwa. I remember say in the middle of the trial, Uber Bia driver and I catch him say, I move to Ghana, tourism country. Mano is young, but it's a country that we all need to protect and we need to guard zealously. And that starts from the delivery of justice, because no one should have to feel that they need to go outside the four corners of Ghana to get justice. Justice emanates from the people, and we have enough people in Ghana. Because I saw say recently, judges know TV so they are educating people about the jury system. As part of our civic responsibility, it will also go a long way. Along with amending laws to allow more juror participation in different kinds of cases now.
Lawyer Evans Selassie Adeka, or somebody Esquire, so thank you very much. And I'll also say thank you to your colleagues that helped. In this case, Andrew De Gea, also Arthur Wemega Esquire, and Aday Crow. I would like to say I really appreciate your time. You've educated us and also made things very clear to Ghanaians.
I'd like to point something else. So there were a few things that I think I glossed over. I think I told you said the threshold that we had to meet in the US was much higher than in Ghana. And in that regard, one of the allegations that was made is that you are a serial killer in terms of multiple Chinese. What was appalling, crying, I say, video, proof. Say, proof, say, I'll be dinner stand, no, say, Chinese phone. Video, it was an embarrassment because it was some video, I mean, say, Preconayo, Namoya Hangi, or a only say, Umquabua, Mamudiano Soneno.
Yeah, and then on Bishu say,
but it was definitely what he said he was going to produce, and I think that really disgusted the jury, because and it's not something to accuse someone of likely.
Thank you very much for clarifying this. Ivan Selassie Adeka Esquire, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate every single minute you've shared with us here. At least, what I say, we are to rest for now. From your explanation on that's a case we end there. The response from the defendant, Kennedy, Japan, the lawyers, so we're waiting for them to also file what they have to file. Now, I share where it goes from where we are now.
And just to clarify, any response, so Omono and Kanaya Baba for times 5 for no.
Yeah.
Omo the assembly attitude guy to say, yeah, no person more. Now, for the sake of transparency, no be in that time now, or yes, we be yano na almost them there, didn't better so. The almost them when you're dance why, be dinner 18 na decided say, we have some decisions to make. What I said. But the thing is appeal, the difficulty is appeal no US answer no bit me appeal he needs to put the full $18 million down in a bond. Answer no bit me file appeal no. And we you know, any say papa no Bob Bryant today, I'm sure say Obenya tia, yeah. Depending on how that goes, we have the prerogative of deciding say we ever go for times 5 based on that 18 million if it stands, and I say almost so bad. Hypothetically, even 10 and answer 12 krana, we still decide to say, you know, was or bar up with a nice offer. So we just canana, union, I'm not saying because I told you, union or no, Kuranadian or no, so a lawyer, you know, we'll work on, we'll entertain that and decide, say, okay. ABI, Bijan Mua, young Copesa times 5, no, and I say, but I say, change now, but what for times 5, no. Because there are certain other things that happen. There are certain things that also happen that will influence our decision one way or another.
Yeah. Lawyer, we will be on standby. And I know, sir,
okay.
Baby Ano, we will come back for more clarification and education. We really appreciate you
very
much. Evans Salasi Adeka Esquire, he has been our guest. He is one of the lawyers of Alnas Arim Yao Anas. Wachech and Sen Ejujum Emagana for Ehuno Kreno. I really want to say thank you very much to a year lawyer, Ivan Salasi. The other lawyers or counsels that helped him, and I said, I'm about to get as a team to make sure Anas has a solid or had a solid legal team backing him. No, Mr. Arthur Wemega Esquire, he was part of the council Anas lawyers. No, Andrew here is also part of Anas legal team. No, and Odei Crow was part, and as you know, lawyer Ivan Salasi Adeka on your screen, he was also part of Anas legal team. No, so I'm going to make a quick turn. Maybe a metro pictures and a video in court. Court actually, Anas legal team no basically wrote to the court to give them permission to film what was happening in court. We have some short videos to show you about Nyoma Isiwo court and pictures and adia gallery kakra Isiwo court. So after this short break, I'll show you all that happened in court. You're still watching with all due respect extended version.
Onipa amount check na e bounce 1 year on tuai wakoto ni nyoma no weden why wonim se bofruit na wotia and I will hwe me and I will cast it be wo ba ma so boy wo so you are part of it.
Okay,
and the Ghana said you cast some you don't follow.
Okay,
you don't follow
Japan until the court arrives at a decision that incriminates somebody. And yet difficult to
who go law school.
Court arrives at a decision that until the court arrives at a decision that incriminates somebody. And yet difficult to
who go law school.
Until the court arrives at a decision that incriminates somebody. And yet difficult to
who go law school.
Until the court arrives at a decision that incriminates somebody. And yet difficult to
who go law school.
Get it was car, carry the betia. Now we 80 million ska. And I carry the Oscar. We see factory cracker, cold store, fridge, be breed, what you can see. Carry or some president to do betia. 80 and then they see what court to the lawyer church him. Well, uncle law school, lawyer, the possibility, you can say, for now, the 80 million is just so. The possibility is about 90 million high, and the possibility is about 60 or 50 million very high. Kennedy appeal in Quadia and a lawyer in the future, no. So, person appeal also of 18 equitable, so near the two contain near Catasso and Sanya Kosha appeal, no. But for now, the Kennedy Baba Abe Perka Crasabia Yenteso, Yateso Crampo, Ebia, medium minim, maybe a Tibia 14 and also times Eddie or Inti, ready, or say, or not client here, Anas in this idea whether to apply for plus times 5 or times no intended the to me can was say definite, but the suggestion you can was the suggestion you second Japan as we speak now or the Anas Ayum Yao Anaska $18 million I was say off also ko church on crata bi diaba no problem. Anas the lawyer say omo train ya teso kra no yetumi teso kra bi $400 $18 million minus $400 monya calculation na Kennedy ntia de aka no inti say ya teso kra bi a judge no obeso teso jury no na say 80 million ebia oteso $330 cra into 80 million minus $330 yen share the Kennedy betua and so asem. Now let's enter the courtroom na yen share the see court and the ewo eye courtroom New Jersey Kennedy Japan any Anas case na and there Kennedy he needs to pay $18 million. 18. Remember Kennedy remember court and also offered $9.5 million. Adena Kennedy pen or Anas a double number Kennedy. Na Kennedy so offered $9.5 million if you ho. And Anas I had a double 9.5 million amano. It Kennedy they now pen or Anas I had 2 amano. And then there was a Kennedy Tuyama Anas. Now court in summer a CNA and then Kenya show Mukra Moha Junior. Kennedy Japan obetua Oscar and ascend your court Kennedy Fui. Baumia man kakra non so be account. Say or say Baumia man $800 million. Only $18 million. Now see this when in summer is see your court. Today I'm catching them. You see this particular guy. Now me catch him say Miss Suno, your friend Dada Fred. This guy, many Kennedy work court no or the misinformations be to abontene. My legal team no they have put it together and Anas Kennedy case no ni din be mu in court. These are part of the evidence Anas team no the legal team no edit. This foolish man your friend Dada Fred me a call. I will make sure say sika obeti okroma no ebe kuna to esika no ebe hunu na obenum eduro kunu ho. I am going to sue him. Now, Kennedy case, no, this fool, Obemu, he was mentioned and he is the tool. Any other foolish platform, sir, Kennedy Japan, Eddie misinforming Ghana for. Anas na one fan corner, so Anas the Ujana Manekoye, but I am going to sue.